Hey Soul Tribe, it's the Joy Healer, Kathy Weiss. I help people like you find deep fulfillment and lasting freedom at the level of your soul, which is joy. And oh my gosh, I just want to tell you this right now to get it out of my system. Something changed over here on Facebook Live because the little red live thing used to just sit up there in the corner, and now it's like flashing at me, which is super distracting. So I'm gonna say, like, hey, if anybody knows anybody who knows anybody, the flashing thing is a little bit distracting. It would be way better if it was just like it was solid red. So there you go. Welcome to your weekly intuitive and clairvoyant energy reading for the week of April 27th through May 3rd, 2020. You can also, you catch this at any other time. It's still going to have some really good, important, relevant information for you. So if you catch it after the week of April 27th, it's all good. Team, I am feeling like this week's video is going to be a little bit more short and sweet than some of them have been in recent weeks and months. That'll become apparent as we get into the messages. I have them in my notebook that I write down. Sometimes the messages come through days in advance, and sometimes it happens like right away. And definitely today it was like I had an idea the last few days about what was coming, but it was definitely this morning when I was able to translate the energy, right? Because energy doesn't have words or language. It's just a vibration, like a sound wave or a light wave, and it's our senses that interpret those waves into sound or light. And so it's the same thing with energy. People's electromagnetic vibration, I feel that, and then I have to interpret that with my senses in my mind by seeing images, which is what clairvoyance is, or I hear words and phrases, which is what clairaudience is. And so it took me a little while to really interpret what was happening this week. And before I get into explaining that, I'm going to do a very brief energy healing today. I'm just going to be sending some pure white light. I feel like pure white light, two things. Number one, it's like the most powerful healing energy we can send, but it's also like the most basic. It's sort of like, when I'm not really quite sure exactly what somebody needs, I'm going to go with pure white light. So it's awesome because it's the best, and it's also awesome because it's the most basic. And again, when I get into explaining what's going on in the energy this week, it'll make sense that I chose something really basic that sort of, like, let's call it covering all the bases, so to speak. So if you would like to receive a little bit of energy healing in the form of white light, you'll have your hands in an open, receptive position. That could be up towards the camera, which is where you'll see me holding my hands. They could just be like by your side or in your lap. And if you're newer to energy healing, or you're not quite sure what that's all about, you kind of just want to observe a few times before you participate, just have your hands closed. You can make little fists or rest your hands face down on your chest or your lap or something like that. And for the purposes of this type of energy healing, that'll be enough to allow you to observe without receiving. So just know you may most likely not feel anything, although energy is not limited by time, space, or technology. If you participate, you might feel a little bit of warmth in your hands, or like a tingling sensation, or maybe just a sense of feeling like, oh, I just feel a little bit better or emotionally lighter. That is, like, every response is normal to energy healing. There isn't one like really set thing that you might anticipate, which I think is nice because, oh, I'm just tuning in. I think it's nice to not have a set reaction, because that can close you down. If you're like, oh, I didn't feel that, so I didn't receive. That's not the case. And I'm loving hearing that sound of that beautiful wind chime outside. I don't know if you guys can pick it up, but it's just really helping me draw that beautiful white light down. Comes down through the crown of my head, and then I just travel it out through my arms and my hands to send it to you. And so again, you can choose to receive or not. I mean, definitely feeling a very strong flow of pure white light. It's almost like I turned like like a faucet at the sink on really high. Like it feels good, but it's like, whoa, there it comes. Okay. Take a moment, take a deep breath. You can imagine white light coming into your body through your hands, traveling up your arms, and then through the center line of your torso. So up to the crown of your head, down into the pelvic region, and all the way down through your legs and your feet. You can even let that white light flow out through your feet into the earth and let it connect you deeply to both the divine energy that rises from above and the divine energy that is rooted in the earth. Okay, hey, welcome back from that. So let's get into what's going on in the collective energy today, because it's kind of like what is not going on in the collective energy today. Okay, because the energy is really fractured, was the word that I heard. And I see an image of a glass pane, like a window pane or a sheet of glass or something like that. And it's cracked and like all, like just there's cracks running everywhere, all over the place. And this is why the word fractured came up to me, because it's just the whole thing is fractured in the collective energy. And that's because there are as many lessons to be learned as there are people on the planet. So we're experiencing the global coronavirus pandemic. And one of the questions I hear repeatedly, both from face-to-face people interactions and that I'm hearing coming in energetically, is why is this happening? People like to make meaning out of events in their lives. And so it's like, what meaning am I supposed to make? Can you tell me about that meaning? And I can, 100%. I can tell you and I can help guide you towards the meaning that you're meant to be making in your life. But the collective energy is way too fractured right now for me to be able to say, here is the message for the collective. And again, that's because there are as many lessons to be learned as there are people on the planet. That would be like asking me to deliver 1 billion unique individual messages in a 20-minute video. Like, it's not going to happen, my friends. As much as I love you, I can't do that. As many answers to the question why as there are people who are questioning. So not everyone is questioning, why is the coronavirus here? Why is all of this happening right now in our lives? But the people who are questioning, you all have a unique answer, because making meaning is a personal endeavor. It's rarely a global. Now we will find threads of similarity in making meaning. But again, right now the energy is so fractured because there are so many different whys and so many different lessons to be learned. And most of us are on the brink of them. We're getting really close, or we're starting to uncover them, or we're ready to uncover them, but we haven't yet. And so there's as many outcomes as there are those who are seeking to create solutions. This is why, again, the collective energy is a little bit tricky for me right now, because there is as much stuff lining up as there are people who are lining up with the questions and seeking the answers and the solutions. There are hundreds and thousands and millions of individual answers out there. Okay, so there is currently not a strong collective energy. This is the first time in 2.5 years that I've been doing these weekly Facebook energy readings for you, where there hasn't been a strong collective energy. So it's really easy, or not easy, but it's like, it's interesting. And it's really easy for me to like not want to do the video. That's really interesting. It was the first time in 2.5 years where I was like, I don't know if I want to do a video today, because there isn't that information. Okay, there isn't a strong collective energy, and the cohesion is breaking down. The thing that holds us together as a collective is breaking down and breaking apart. Now, don't freak out because that's not a bad thing. It's just an is thing. Remember, even the fact that there isn't a strong collective energy right now isn't bad. It just is. And if we can just allow things to just be, we can find a whole lot more inner peace and start to focus on our own individual answers and meaning making. Okay, so this breakdown is good, like this sort of like where everything is losing cohesion and sort of like breaking apart. So good because something new is going to come together underneath that and build a new foundation for a new strong collective energy. Okay, so the guidance this week is kind of vague and general. They're here. I just had to like peek at my notes because I couldn't. Sometimes I can't read quite what I write. But anything that I send out right now is going to be like really diffuse and scattered, because if I look at that pane of glass with all those cracks in it, I'm trying to send energy out. It's just diffusing the energy out along those cracks, and it's sort of falling apart and crumbling at the edges. Okay, but I want to go back to last week. I used a little bit of an analogy of us collectively slamming the brakes on a car, right? To avoid a car accident. Some of us feel like we got into a car accident. But afterwards, when we sit in that stunned silence for a moment, and then we start to look around our car, and this is where we are right now. We're in our car looking around after we've slammed on the brakes, after we've had a moment to catch our breath, and we're sort of surveying the interior of the car, and it's like some of us have a mess. But the problem, again, with the collective energy is that the mess is so varied. Some of us have children, so we slam on the brakes and there's like toys and books and french fries and goldfish crackers all over the place. And some of us are students, and so it's more like the contents of our backpacks spilled out and we've got to clean up our books. And some of us love Starbucks and our Starbucks spilled over and we've got to clean that up. And some of us have some of us keep very clean, pristine cars. God love you. And so you're looking around your car and you're like, I don't have a mess to clean up. Right? And so the messes are metaphorical. Some of us do have a physical mess to clean up in our homes or our work environments, where as we've kind of settled in and started to have stillness, we're like, I really don't need, guys, I couldn't even count how many bookshelves like this we have in our house. Like in this room alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 in this room alone. And in my office, I think we have 5. Out in the other room, we've got 4. Like they're everywhere. You know what I mean? And so even for me, like sitting in stillness, I was like, I can clean out some of my old novels. Not all of them, obviously. But like, I think you can see some gaps in there now. Right? So some of us have physical messes that we want to clean up. Some of us, it's more like emotional or energetic or mental messes that we are endeavoring to clean up. And that's where the lessons to be learned and the making meaning and the why is coming in, because we're trying to do some mental and emotional cleanup, which is a part of some people's lessons, some people's meaning. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about those of you that have none, like no mess to clean up. In our analogy of slamming on the brakes in your car, you're like, my car's fine, I'm fine, cruising along. Brr, brr, brr. Except what I'm hearing from some people who are fine and cruising along is that they feel guilty because they're having a fine time and are cruising along and they're still employed and their life really hasn't been altered. And so they're like, oh, everything's fine over here. So they feel guilty. Or some people have a little bit of unidentified ego coming in and just making a sense of like, everything's fine and great and wonderful, but I just sort of feel weird, or I sort of feel wrong about the fact that there's nothing wrong, if that makes any sense. And then also there's like, do y'all remember, I keep hearing this phrase from Saturday Night Live, like, a bajillion years ago, the church lady, and she was like, somebody's feeling a little bit superior right now. And there's definitely a hint or two of that in the collective energy. If some of us are feeling a little bit superior because, I don't know, like we don't have any messes to clean up. Our house is perfect and our house is now perfect-er and we're doing all the things right. You know what I mean? And so that is actually a mental mess that I would look at as needing to be cleaned up, because there are as many lessons to be learned as there are people on the planet. And so if right now you're feeling like you're crushing it and you're awesome and everybody else isn't, you aren't having the spiritual awareness of people's life lessons, and that the messes that they're experiencing and the challenges that they're experiencing are providing their soul with their next level of growth, expansion, and evolution. And so there might be a few spiritual messes in the collective as well that need to sort of get cleaned and tidied up. So this week has been a little bit sticky and a little bit tricky as far as reading the collective and giving you a specific collective action step and a specific collective message. And I'm feeling really called right now to individual readings. I'm not even going to pull an oracle card today because I'd have to pull like every card in the deck in order to get a decent message across. Does that make sense? Like you all have way different needs right now. Whether they're physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. And I can tune in to an individual and read and provide you with the guidance and messages you need. And that's what I'm feeling like, so like there's a yearning in my heart to be able to deliver those messages for you. So I'm going to encourage you really strongly to come full circle in supporting yourself on a deeper level and receive the full benefits of the gifts that I have to offer. Like these free messages are so great, but they're sort of like, to me, like icing on the cake of the deep and meaningful and valuable messages that I can deliver to you in a private session. Even a 20-minute mini reading is sometimes enough to help you find those lessons, help you make meaning, help you find the whys, and help you move forward into whatever you're meant to be moving forward to out of this time that we're experiencing as a collective. And there's one last message that came through really, really loud and clear today, guys. And it's super powerful. And I want you to hear it more than once. I'm probably going to say it at least twice. I might get nerdy and say it 3 times. But check it out. It says, you will not regret the things you did, but rather the ones you did not. You would never ever regret having a reading or 2 or 6 with me. But you will regret, trying again. You will not regret the things you did, but rather the ones you did not. Because all the things you've done have taught you lessons, have provided you with this rich wealth of experience that is like engraved upon your heart and provides you with the like juicy, delicious richness of you, of the essence and the expression of you in the universe. You will never regret those things, but you will regret the things you did not do. And for many, 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 many of us, we're being called upon now and in the next 6 months to embark on something new, to embark on a different way of being, and to like really clean up and recognize and value that. And I can tell you, I have a couple of ongoing clients who are boldly doing that right now, and is the most beautiful thing in the world to witness. And I am just like high-fiving them like all the time, because it's scary, but they're doing it. And I can feel the lightness and the joy and the eagerness and the optimism pouring off of them that wasn't there before. There are lessons in this global pandemic for you. If you're asking why, there are answers to your why. I have a gift. I have the ability to hear those answers and deliver them to you, and then work right by your side to help you know how to follow them and take real world action steps to move forward towards whatever is being called of you next. So, Soul Tribe, I love you so much. These messages are complete. I will be back next week with another weekly intuitive reading for you. And we'll see if the collective energy has started to coalesce or if it's still going to be a little bit scattered and diffuse. But I would highly encourage you to go check out thejoyhealer.com and click on that work with me button. Schedule yourself a reading and let's start to take your diffuse energy and get it to coalesce into a new and beautiful and more fulfilling and more satisfying and more authentic whole version of you than you've ever been before. I love you guys so much, and I thank you for being here with me. I'll see you next time. Namaste.